Hey everyone, Avros here, back again with the new boss rush event, and just wanted to talk through basically the setup I was going for this one. So we'll just start off with covering some of the bosses and the orbs for this one. So the first boss has an orb from combat start on the very first wave. This orb starts at a 15 count, as is probably obvious at this point in the fight actually going on screen. This orb is increased by thunder damage, adding 2 to the count for whoever is hit, so that's something that you need to take into account for that one. The second wave, which are the mechs, don't have any sort of Lufenia Orb mechanics. They don't have an orb at all, so nothing to worry about with those. The third wave, however, has a orb appearing at 59% HP with a 15 count. This one is increased by 10 for both of them, I believe, whenever they're hit by a sap or poison damage effect. So sap being bravery reduction on their turn, and poison damage being basically X-Death and nobody else. And finally, the fourth wave has one appearing at the battle start on the jet plane bird things, with it appearing at battle start, as I said, 10 count on that one, and is increased by a 5 count for both whenever one of your allies takes bravery damage that is reduced on how much bravery damage they take by a buff. So with these three Lufenia Orb effects, I did find the in-game wording for the second one to be slightly confusing. Basically it says increase count target takes certain brave damage from effect plus 10 limit 15. And certain brave damage from effect I find is not a great wording to mean, you know, sap, basically, draining their bravery by a debuff there. Anyway, so yeah, wave 1 is the Krakens. They're on screen right now, being taken apart by my party. So we may as well talk about the party that's on screen now. So, plan to use the synergy effect. So if you have a unit in your party for the boss rush that does get synergy from the event currently, it does give synergy buff to everybody in the party. We got that early in Global. So the synergy party member in the first party is Krile. She's also providing enchant and peril for thunder damage, making it so that everybody is actually doing thunder damage to increase that Lufenia Orb. Luckily I've got the LD to make sure that that happens. And then the other two party members are Firion and Gladio, obviously, basically abusing the fact that both of them have counters that take place on enemy turns to get as much damage out without using up as many of my turns as possible. As this will allow me to keep my turn count low and carry this party through to additional waves as best I can. So this party did actually make it through to wave 3 and did do a decent amount of damage to the boss there, so not too much more that needs to be said there. I mean, this is a pretty good counter party. It does have some good enchant and peril effects with Krile and Gladio getting delayed by the Krakens with their stone aura there, as you'll see throughout this fight, allows him to maintain his LD counter buff for as long as possible, so that was actually super handy. The only other thing to keep in mind for this first wave is at 49% HP, they will actually gain max brave, so full 9s, full 5 9s there. And don't actually delay themselves like they normally would, so you do need to be aware of that and deal with it. With Gladio on the party covering everyone and his LD buff up to counter, he won't take any damage from that. You can basically ignore the effect, but if you're using any other party and don't have that, you will need to make sure that that bravery is handled with by a shave. Yep, second wave is the I think they're the Samo 10G. CM010Gs, or whatever they are, mechs. They don't have a Lufenia Orb, as I previously mentioned, so there wasn't too much to worry about with that fight overall. They do have a frame buff, which saps your bravery, but basically just plowed through those with as few turns as possible with the first party, and didn't have to worry too much about too much that was going on there. Wave 3 is the Swarmfly. And so has huge resistance to melee damage, so using that enchant peril for the first party was really handy to actually get some damage through from Firion and Gladio, and then ended up on that one running out of turns and switched over to the second party, which is Ultimecia, Penelo and Balthier. So with the Swarmfly, like I said, resistance to melee, can't be launched. Will summon adds during the fight, so Ultimecia's AoE damage was there to deal with that, plus I have Ultimecia's burst, so that made this even easier to deal with. And also bringing Ultimecia for the sap effect was really handy there. The thing is with the orb, and you have to be really careful with Ultimecia's burst, is because the orb requires the boss to take turns to actually have the sap go off to increase the count, you need to be really careful about how you delay this boss. Basically, I decided to go with the strategy of rushing it down right at the end. You'll see this a bit later in the video, but I basically rushed the Swarmfly down once it did have the orb past the 49% HP. When it got right down near the tail end of its HP, by making sure I was doing a greater amount of its remaining health by a percentage, you know, like 3% per turn, sort of thing, for each one turn of count it was losing, to make sure that I was racing the orb down enough that I could beat it. The sort of key points of the party with Ultimecia obviously is to just do as much magic damage as possible. I used Hope's LD call on Penelo to get the Magic Imperil up to make Ultimecia do even more damage, and Balthier, I've got his LD as well, so him being there with the 5 stacks of his LD to increase bravery and HP damage made a huge difference to this party's sort of damage output. Penelo is just there as basically battery and healing if required, basically there. So she's really handy for that in this fight, but pretty much Ultimecia's carrying this one all the way through that third wave for what was left after Party 1 dealt with it. And then the biggest problem with the strategy I was going with is that Party is no good at all come wave 4 because of the orb effect. There's nothing in this party really that reduces brave damage taken via a buff, so I had to rely on pretty much switching them out immediately once wave 4 started for the last party, which is a full magic party again, as the boss has high resistance to earth damage, melee and ranged, and is also, I'm pretty sure, immune to a few debuffs there. I think it's blind attack and speed down debuffs, so yeah, got to be cautious around that one. And basically the idea with the party was I brought in Hope, Kuja and Xande for this one. Again, we're using Hope's Magic Imperil and just trying to get as much damage out via, you know, holy enchanting him with Kuja, whose burst weapon I do also have, and also Xande imperils his own Earth and Dark, so despite them being resistant to Earth, it doesn't really matter with the Imperil there from Xande, plus he's just a good high damage magic unit for this fight. One thing to watch out for with this boss, other than the orb obviously, because that again means they need to have turns, so you can't be too overzealous with, you know, rebreaks or delay or anything on this fight as well, because they do actually need to hit your party to proc the Lufenia Orb ability, but they also do gain an aura at 79% HP. They'll glow blue, and their next attack will actually give them a 60k bravery shield, and making them immune to delay. Breaks also included with that delay as well, so that's when you can utilize some stuff like rebreaks from, say, Xande's LD, or if you bring someone like a Metatelian to, you know, well, that's more turn deletion, that's a bad example. Yeah, someone with more delay-based kit, Lightning, for example, which, again, resistant to melee, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend bringing Lightning, but that's sort of where that sort of effect does become less useful, so something to keep in mind for that last part of the fight. Overall, bringing one synergy unit, which was, you know, Krile in the first party, Ultimecia in the second, and Hope in the last one, did actually boost everyone's stats significantly and made this quite easy, but this could be quite a difficult fight to get through if you don't have all those units. Like, I'm pretty well kitted up with everyone in this, all the parties basically having all of their LDs and everything, as well as a couple of burst weapons in there. I don't have Firion's burst, which is how you get an extra one in that first party to pull out another 6 turns with the burst turns, obviously not counting towards the turn count for the party, but wasn't necessary to actually get his burst weapon at all, so it ended up working out fine even without his burst. That party did do a lot of work and carried the vast majority of the fight overall, and Ultimecia and Hope's party is just basically pulling clean up at the end. So hopefully anything I've talked about here, and it's a bit rambly, any of these tips might help you with the fight, and enjoy the rest of the video, and thanks for watching.
刹那に消し去りましょう。
どうだどうだ
おしまいにしよう。
俺の射程だ。
これは裁きよ。
勝つために。
目に物見せる。いただこう。
は裁きよ。
うざったいんだよ。
滅びの光よ。これは裁きよ。これは裁きよ。無に帰りなさい。刻め。私の時間。時には誰も抗えない。さあもだえなさい。栄光の痛みを。
俺の射程だ。
滅びの光よ。刻め。刻め。無に帰りなさい。
やっちゃうよ。
俺の射程だ。
さあやりましょう。来い。目に物見せる。
見切ったぞ。
泣いておくれよ。
チェッ。
おしまいにしよう。
受けろ。ユニゾンだ。 奏でよユニゾンだよ死のワルツ任せてください
逃がすか。
泣いておくれよ見せてあげようこれが真の力さあ奏でよ守りますどうぞ
これが魔王の力。滅ぼせ。
本気でいきます死のワルツ
逃がすか。
任せてください
もがち苦しめ。
ユニゾンだよ受けろ